How's it going, everyone? No more sauna. I'm back from upstate. I dropped my daughter off this morning and I am exhausted. Spent like 7 hours in the car driving home. And there's so much traffic, man. Like, it was a long day. But before I just throw some other movie on and fall asleep, I wanted to do this movie and that was like a mix of as and and. As it is Slasher September now on the channel here, so I'm going to be covering a whole bunch of 70s, 80s, and beyond slasher films. I already covered, like, right the first month of doing this channel, like, some of my favorite ones. So, anyone who's a big slasher fan and loves Blood Rage and The Mutilator and The Burning and all those lesser known but are getting more popular as the years go on now, slasher films from the 80s, you can check those out. I have a whole slasher playlist. But I'll have a whole bunch of slasher films coming this month, mostly. Because I know not everyone loves slasher films, and some of the people will watch. It's not their thing, so I'm not that selfish. I'm going to alienate those people who want to hear about other movies that have nothing to do with fucking crazy murderers. And I hit 100 subs today, so I want to say thank you to everybody who subscribed to the channel and got me to 100 subs. That was pretty much my goal starting the channel, which I said I started for myself. Like, this is a passion project for me. I said if I hit 100 subs and just like 10 of them watch consistently, it's a bonus. And hit the 100 subs and actually got nominated by the Real Fifth Beatle, which if you haven't checked his channel out, I mentioned in one of my last videos. Great guy, Mike. And he nominated me for Horror YouTuber of the Month of October, along with 3 others. So I'll put a link in the description of that video if you want to throw a vote my way over there. I don't care either way. What the fuck does it mean? Fucking those 3 people deserve this shit much more than I do. But the other reason I wanted to do this, and I'm going to try to keep this short, which I say all the fucking time and it never happens, but I'm not going to get into Bava's whole, like, career or anything like that. I'll save that because Bava deserves his own special little time with all his movies. So the only reason I'm really doing this, A Bay of Blood, which also known as Carnage, and also known as Bloodbath, and also known as my favorite name probably for a slasher film ever, is The Twitch of the Death Nerve. What a great name for a fucking movie, man. Like, Twitch of the Death Nerve. Come on. That is amazing. That's like one of the greatest names for a slasher film ever. And I wish that they kept that name and released it everywhere under that name. A Bay of Blood is fine. I mean, it plays into the whole plot of the film. But Twitch of the Death Nerve, how do you fucking beat that? Like, that is such a fucking great title, man. But I consider this, as many do, especially those who love Italian horror, I consider this the most influential film in starting and shaping and molding the slasher genre of the 80s. Like, 100%. You got everything in here that eventually found its way into the whole slasher craze of the 80s. And everybody cites Friday the 13th as kicking off the whole 80s slasher craze, which it did. But then you go back and look at Halloween and how influenced by Halloween Friday the 13th was. And you go back a little further and you have Black Christmas that inspired Halloween a decent amount. And then that was 74. Now we're here in 71 with The Bay of Blood. And just, I feel like this is it. Like, this is the film that really influenced the slasher genre the most. Like, we have so many things in here that become horror tropes and slasher tropes and cliches and all the shit that we've seen a million times since. But for 1971, and like, this is like Bava's, like, in my opinion, is most like brutal film. Like, this film is all about the kills, like, absolutely. But you have so much in here. Like, you have just the setting of the bay. You have a body of water with woods all around it. And you have cabins and shit that are there. And you have just brutal death after death after death, like a high body count and a POV shot from the killer. And so much that you can trace back to this movie that influenced everything that came after it. So for me, this is like the first real slasher film. Like I always say with premises and stuff like that, Is there something before this? I'm sure there was. But like Psycho gets a lot of credit for slashers a little bit, but Psycho is so much more to me than a slasher film. It's not even a slasher film. Halloween isn't even really a slasher film to me. Like the first one, I don't consider it like a slasher film. The sequels, yeah, like as it went along. But the first Halloween, I don't consider a slasher film either. But alright, let's just fucking get this over with. I'm fucking exhausted. And just to make this even shorter, I'm not going to even get into Bava's directing and camera work and all the amazing angles and shots that he does in all these movies, all of his movies and this movie. I'm just going to blanket it by saying this movie is shot so well, it's directed so well. Everything about this movie is so great. And the whole premise of this movie, man, I've seen this movie like a handful of times by now. I still don't know what the fuck's going on in this movie. This has to have like one of the most complicated and just convoluted plots to a giallo slash slasher film like ever. Like the fucking premise for this movie and what happens in it. Like everyone's a murderer in this movie. Everybody. Except for like the entomologist guy and his wife. That's like it. Like everybody and the countess. Everyone else is a fucking murderer. Like there's like 7 killers in this movie and you have no idea who's killing who. And we have the countess at the beginning who gets hung, which is an awesome kill. Like you don't see too many old women in a wheelchair get a fucking noose wrapped around her neck and then the wheelchair kicked out from under her and she fucking like half falls and hangs to death. You don't see that often. Fucking that's a great kill. And right when you think, the first time you see this, you think, all right, there's our killer, and we don't know who he is. Then you see his face, and we find out that that's the husband of the Countess, Donati. And then he gets fucking stabbed and killed by another killer. So we got another kill in there. Then we have fucking Ventura and Laura, who were fucking murderers too, and they're trying to take over property here at the Bay and trying to acquisition the Bay for themselves. And they're like, I think he's in like construction or an architect or something like that, Ventura. And then you got Rennie, the daughter of Donati, the stepdaughter of the Countess, Rennie, and her husband, and they're fucking murderers. And then you have Simon, the illegitimate kid of the Countess, and Rennie's stepbrother she never knew about, and he's a fucking murderer. It's so hard to follow this, but I think I finally cracked the whole story on this rewatch here. So let's see how I get this. So like I said, Countess is hung, killed, and then by her husband, and then leaves a suicide note, and he's stabbed and killed by a killer that we do not see. Then we meet Ventura and Laura, and they hatch their little scheme to take over the Bay. And they need the signature from Donati, from the Countess's husband, in order for them to take ownership over the Bay. And they don't know that he's been killed and stabbed right after he killed his wife. So that throws a whole little wrench in their plan. And then we have the 4 younger kids who come, and I guess they just like come there to party. They like know the place is like abandoned for the most part, except for like the 2 people who, like the 2 couples who live there, and they come in and they start swimming around and fucking around. Then you don't meet too many Brunhildes nowadays. Like, you don't. Like, I don't think I've ever met someone named Brunhilde. Hilda, maybe. But like, a full name, like Brunhilde, even if you're lucky enough to be out in the wild and you catch one, like a legendary one with your Pokeball, guaranteed that Brunhilde doesn't have the tits that this one does. Like, she has amazing tits in this movie. And she's just full on naked through like her whole part in this movie. And her whole chase scene with the killer chasing her is awesome. Like, the score in this movie is very good. It's very simple, but it's effective. Like, it fits the whole Bay setting and the woods and everything. And it's just like pretty much just like tribal sounding, like conga percussion and stuff. Like, it sounds really cool though. And I mean, Bava is just a fucking master when it comes to atmosphere. Like, every film is just dripping with atmosphere. Like, the guy's a fucking legend when it comes to that. And when she's getting chased, and she ends up getting the killer catches up to her with the billhook machete with the curve on the end of it, and he just grabs her and slits her throat and then slashes the back of her neck, and she falls to the ground dead. What a great kill, man. The gore in this movie is fucking stupendous. It's so good. Like, even this is 1971. And I was saying when I was covering Argento, like even with early Argento, with the Animal Trilogy, or with the Crystal Plumage and Cat of Nine Tails and everything, that there wasn't much gore in there because you just didn't see a lot of really gruesome kills in the late 60s, early 70s. This is 1971, man, and we get some fucking brutal kills in this movie. Like, most of this is just going to be listing the kills off. Like, and basically this whole month, fucking this month is all about the kills in all these amazing slasher movies. So it is just going to be kills, kills, kills galore in all their glory throughout this whole month. But that billhook fucking kill is amazing. And that's why it's the profile picture for the channel for this month, because of this film being, in my opinion, like I said, the most influential film on the slasher genre, and just how amazing that kill is. Like, 100%. And we get 3 amazing kills, one right after the other, like one scene after the next. And we have Bobby, one of the other kids there, and he opens the door and he gets the billhook machete right in his face, and he falls to the ground, and it looks fucking awesome. And then just how the killer has to wedge it out of his face, and you just see the fucking cut all through his face where the machete was. It looks so fucking beautiful, man. The fucking gore is amazing in this movie, like 100%. And then we get the fucking spear through the bed kill, which I mentioned in my Friday 2 video, was absolutely directly stolen from this movie. Like, I won't hear anything about it. Like, I don't care what Steve Miner comes out and says, or if he ever came out and said it, or who wrote the screenplay for 2? Was it Kurtz? Was it Rob Kurtz? Pretty sure he's who wrote the screenplay for 2. One of them saw this movie. Like, 100%. Like, if both of them came out in the past and said they never saw A Bay of Blood, fuck you. Bullshit. 100% bullshit. Like, they absolutely saw. It's shot the exact same way, and this kill is just better in every single way, which just shows that imitation may be flattery, but you're never going to get better than the original thing. And this kill is so good, with the other 2 kids fucking in the bed, and then the killer comes with the spear, just like in Friday. It looks like the same fucking spear, too. Like, it looks like the identical spear from that movie. And just fucking spears them through the bed, and spear hits the ground, and then they're still, like, moving on top of each other, and, like, fucking, like, with their last little gasps of life and shit. Such a great kill, and like I said, every time I see it in Friday, ever since I saw this movie, obviously I saw Friday the 13th series before I saw Bay of Blood, but once I saw this movie, and then found out and got big into Bava, and found out that this is the fucking kill from Friday 2. They fucking stole this shit, like, straight up. The whole movie here, like, they pretty much, Friday Part 2, we'll say this for a sec. This movie has, like, A Bay of Blood, has a killer who lives by a body of water in the woods, in a shack, who kills a bunch of people in brutal ways after his mother was killed. Come on, man. Like, really? Like, that's Friday the 13th Part 2. Like, right there. Like, it's the whole movie. Like, the whole premise for Friday 2 is this movie. Like 100%. Like, the whole setting by the lake. Well, it's a bay in here, but it's a lake there, and just everything. Like, and the POV shots from the killer, and just all of that. Like, you can, like I said, like, I won't hear anything about it. Like, if it's, I don't care who from Friday Part 2 who worked on that movie who comes out and says, no, we just thought of that, and it just happened to be, you know, the same kill as in this movie. Yeah, fuck you. You absolutely stole so much from this movie. And even if you don't want to call it theft, which I think is bullshit, it absolutely is. But even if you want to call the whole thing an homage, still, like, the whole plot line of Friday 2 is so eerily similar to this. Like, it's like like obviously, like it's fucking scary how close it is to this. Like killer, high body count, near a body of water, in the woods, with different fucking killing implements, and a guy who lost his mother and got fucking kill happy afterwards. If you just say all of that to somebody, they'll say, "Oh, that's Friday the 13th part. That's Jason you're talking about." Like I said, man, it's fucking real close. Then we have Albert and Rennie, husband and wife, and Rennie's the daughter of the husband of the Countess. See how confusing this shit is? This is such a confusing movie. The Countess's husband's daughter is Rennie. So a stepdaughter of the Countess. So her and Albert, her husband, and their two kids, which they leave in the RV while they go to talk to Paul and Anna, the entomologist, and his, like, I don't even know what she is. She reads tarot cards, and she's like a fucking mystic or some shit. Never plays into anything in this movie. I mean, maybe a little bit. Like, she starts saying that, like, death is upon us, and, like, death's gonna take over the bay. So, like, maybe she's a real psychic, man. Like, who knows? You guys, I've said it once on here how I feel about all that psychic bullshit, but I'm not gonna get into it as I'm trying to keep this short. And they end up going to visit Paul and Anna, the entomologist and the psychic, to try to find out what happened to Rennie's father, the husband of the Countess. And they pretty much flat out just say that, what the hell is his name even, the father? Filippo? I think it's Filippo. Donati's the last name, I know that. So Filippo Donati, the father, that basically they tell fucking, see, I can't even remember their names, man. Albert and Rennie. They tell Albert and Rennie that the Countess's death was not a suicide, and that Rennie's father killed her, and he's been not seen since. So we know that he's killed, but they don't. So he's fucking missing. Then they end up finding his body covered by the squid on Simon, the like caretaker and this illegitimate son of the Countess, on his boat. And I love the shots of like the squid fucking just squirming over the body of the father and stuff. Awesome stuff. Really, really cool. Then we have Rennie finds the kids' bodies all together in a room, like on the bed and stuff, before they were able to be disposed of, which is another thing right there, which is the person finding all the bodies. And so there's so many things in this movie, like I said, that just straight up led right to the slasher genre and the craze of slasher films in the 80s, like 100%. And she finds those bodies in Ventura's house, and Ventura comes after her with an axe, and she ends up stabbing him in the leg, in the artery, with a pair of scissors. Then Paul sees this, and he goes to call the police, and he has to look up in a phone book the number for the cops, which is just fucking weird, man. Like, what is that? Like, I don't know. Like, that, maybe in the early 70s in Italy or wherever this is set. I mean, it's an Italian film, so, but they don't say where it's set. I'm guessing Italy somewhere. But did people just not know the number for the police back then? I don't know. I never lived in Italy, and I was not alive in 1971, so I can't give the answer for that. But yeah, he had to look up the cop's number in a phone book, which is just ridiculous to me. Like I said, who knows if that was the thing. Then Albert comes by, and he's like the only one in this movie, Rennie's husband, Albert, that like is apprehensive about all of this. Like, he is apprehensive about killing. He doesn't really, like, he's not really a murderer, but he's doing this all for his family, for Rennie and their kids, to get acquisition of the bay. And you could see it in the way that he acts and stuff, and just his dialogue to Rennie, that like after the hell happens after that, he ends up strangling Paul to death. Then Anna, the psychic chick, gets decapitated by Rennie, which looks awesome. Like, the gore is in this movie, man. Gore is so good in this. And after that, like after Anna gets decapitated, then Rennie meets back up with Albert, and she's like, yeah, I took care of the other one too. And he's like, what, Anna? Like, you killed her too? Like, he's surprised. Like, he's shocked that his wife is like going on a fucking murder spree. So he's like the only one. But like near the end of the movie, she even says to him, like, you've changed. Like, you've like, I guess a few murders under your belt will absolutely change who you are. And I don't doubt it. And then we have Simon finds out that Ventura and Laura got Donati, the husband of the Countess, to hatch their little plan for Donati to kill his wife, the Countess, and pretend it was a suicide. And then Donati would sign over the bay to Ventura. And that was their little plan. So we get a little flashback of the Countess saying that she's not selling to Ventura, and that whole little flashback that we get. And then we get another flashback. This film's all over the place, like I said, the fucking plot of this. So then we have another flashback of Ventura dealing with Simon, and this is one thing I never understood, why Simon kills the 4 kids that sneak onto the property and stuff. Never knew why. Then I don't know how I didn't, because he flat out says it, like right there in the scene. Like Simon was talking with Ventura, and he's saying one of them saw Donati's body, so I had to get rid of them. So that makes sense now. Finally, after all these fucking rewatches of this. So he had to kill the 4 kids because one of them, Brunhilde, saw the body in the bay. So he had to get rid of anybody who could be aware of what's going on at this bay. And I'm sure if he didn't kill any of them, they wouldn't have a fucking clue either, man. Just like me watching this movie so many times, no idea what's going on here half the time. But like I said, I think I finally cracked it this time, because it is so convoluted, the plot to this movie. And Ventura offered Simon a nice little chunk of money to sign over the inheritance for the bay once Simon legally finally gets the inheritance after the whole investigation into the Countess's death and everything is over. And then Simon finds out that Ventura and Laura were the ones that plotted with Donati to kill Simon's mother, the Countess. And if you're confused yet, if you're not confused yet, fucking props to you, man, because I'm confused just talking right now with how fucking exhausted I am with this premise. Are you serious? And Simon finds out that, that the Ventura, Laura, and Donati plan to kill his mother, and he ends up choking out and killing Laura. Then he tries going over to Ventura's place and tries killing him. And then Albert shows up, and Albert spears Simon through the heart, kills him. It looks really good too. All the gore in this movie, is just fantastic. It's really, really good. And the transfer that they have on Prime right now that I watch this on, the Kino transfer, looks fucking amazing. It looks so good. I don't remember the last time I saw this movie, but it's a few years probably, but it looked great on Prime. And it said Kino at the beginning, so I'm guessing it's the Kino transfer Blu-rays that they released a few years ago, whenever they released them. But it looks so good. It looks so clear and just cleaned up. What a good transfer that they have on there. And makes me want to buy the actual Blu-ray and have this movie on Blu-ray. And so Simon's dead. Then Albert kills Ventura because he was still alive after Rennie stabbed him in the leg, and ends up finishing him off real quick. And then we have a random ass ending. Was it Albert and Rennie are the only ones left now, the only ones who can get inheritance over the bay and can claim legal ownership over the bay and the property. And their kids are in the RV still, and their son and daughter pop out of the window, and the son has their rifle in his hands, and I guess he thinks it's a toy because he just shoots both of them dead. The son just shoots Rennie and Albert dead, kills both his parents, and then their daughter's they're great at playing dead, huh? Let's go play in the bay. And then they just walk off and they run off and they play in the bay, by the bay and everything, with the most cheerful music ever, with just kids singing, la 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 la, and and that's it. That's the end of the movie. It's my favorite Bava film. I will say that. It is. It's not as stylized as Blood and Black Lace and Black Sunday and so many of his other films, even Barren Blood, Lisa and the Devil, Kill Baby Kill. I love those two movies. Lisa and the Devil, Kill Baby Kill, those are in my top 3 with this for Bava. for sure. And I will eventually, like I said, give Bava his own little time to shine and do the rest of his movies. Only reason, like I said, I wanted to do this was because it's slasher month here, and what I said about this film regarding slashers. And yeah, so they kill the parents, and then they go play by the bay, and that's the end of the movie. So to recap, let's see if I get this right. So the Countess didn't want to sell the bay. And correct me if I'm wrong, somebody who's an expert on Bay of Blood, let me know in the comments. The Countess didn't want to sell to Ventura. So Ventura, Laura, and the Countess's husband, Donati, hatched their little plan for Donati to stage the suicide and kill his wife, make it look like a suicide. Then Donati got killed by Simon, and they were screwed, Ventura and Laura, because they needed the signature from Donati, which they couldn't get because he's fucking dead. And then Rennie and Albert come, and Rennie is the daughter of Donati and stepdaughter of the Countess, so she would have been the rightful heir. And then she finds out that she has the stepbrother Simon that she never knew about. And Simon had to kill the 4 kids because they found Donati's body. Brunhilde found it in the bay. So he went and killed them and took care of them and was going to dump them in the bay. Then Ventura made a deal with Simon that he was going to pay him off a whole bunch of money for him to disappear for a little bit and for him to sign over the inheritance for the bay once he finally legally got it. And then Rennie and Albert killed Ventura, and Simon killed Laura, because Simon found out that Laura and Ventura and Donati all had the plan to kill his mother, so he kills Laura. Then Albert and Rennie kills him and takes care of Ventura, and then the kids shoot the parents. Is that it? I think I finally fucking cracked it, man. Like, by far, one of the most just completely all over the place, complex, convoluted plots to a slasher film, giallo film, whatever you want to call this. For me, it's like half giallo, half slasher. Because like I said, this is, for me, the film that led to slasher films as we know it. This is responsible for it. But what a great film. What a great whole bunch of kills we get in here. What amazing gore we get in this movie, like, and all for 1971, which is a fucking feat in itself. But that's a Bay of Blood, and I don't even like calling it that. Fucking Twitch of the Death Nerve, that's what it's called, and that's what it'll always be to me, because that is such a great fucking title. But thank you everybody, seriously, who subscribed over the last few months since I started the channel. It's kind of cool to hit 100. Doesn't really matter to me, but I like even numbers. I think it's at 101 now, so now I'm fucking mad again until it hits 102. But thank you, seriously, everybody, for subscribing. And like I said, if you want to throw a vote my way for this horror YouTuber thing for October, which I don't even know what it means, or anything like that, but I'll put a link in the description. Just go over there. Make sure you congratulate the guy, Mike, the Real Fifth Beatle, for his win for September, for the month of September. He is a great guy, great content. Subscribe to his channel if you haven't. And yeah, so I'm going to just pick out some random movie and pass the fuck out. And I will have some nice 80s slashers coming out tomorrow to discuss. So wherever you're from, hope you're having a good night, good morning, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.